Monday, beginning of a new week. It is January 14th. Today, we're talking about Stellantis ghosting car shows, more EVs than ICE for BMW, and meet the new term, AX. Not CX, not UX.
Did you say ICE?
AX. I did. We're going to talk about that. It is like a strange day for Kyle and I because there is snow on the ground in Nashville.
Not just like if you hear
There's
snow
like 3
in
inches
Nashville,
of snow.
yeah, no, it's like 4
coating.
working on 5 and 6, which is it's not like a little dusting like we get a few
of the
times.
Apocalypse.
Yeah, I mean, let me just clear the air here, everybody. All right. When it snows 5, 6, 7 inches anywhere north of, let's call it Cincinnati, Ohio, which is kind of my like lower barrier for we'll get this fixed right away. Everything shuts down, not for 1 day, not for 2 days. Like all the teachers in the area are like, we get a free week. Easy. And we don't have snow days built in. Like that doesn't exist.
This is it. I mean, I remember I grew up in Philly and like a couple inches would shut us down. Obviously, I'm in Syracuse now, so a foot of snow, right? Like we got church in the morning. Literally, last week it snowed 10 inches, and there wasn't even as much as a text message.
No one
that was sent on like, "Hey, are we going to postpone service?" No, we're going. And so, but today Kyle's texting me about this, and I text him a picture of like the sun rising, dry roads. Sunny, it's warmer in Syracuse right now. I had some guests come in. They flew in last night from Chicago and Detroit, and the one was telling me when the pilot said on the flight in last night, "You're not going to believe this, but it's 20 degrees warmer in Syracuse." So I'm in this little sweet spot right now, and it's just like, hey, for once to be the one with the sunshine and no snow on the ground, it's just a new feeling. I don't expect it to come back.
What a thing!
And I mean, it's also a weird day because oh my goodness, Parker Abad jumped into the show comments. And if you don't know, Patrick Abad, GM of Beaver Toyota, his son Parker is probably a Sodu's #1 fan. He actually got hand delivered like a 1 of 6 a Sodu hat. And so like, I hope he's wearing it. Parker, if you're listening, if you're wearing it right now, or even if you're not, we want you to know that you are our #1 fan.
There it is.
And we just like you a lot too. You know,
we love you a lot.
We have a lot going on this week. We have a new Auto Collabs episode dropping. If you don't know, Parker's in Tampa for a tournament, so he's in fine. He's sunshine, and he's wearing the hat. Way to go, Parker. We do have a new Auto Collabs episode dropping today. Auto Collabs is one of our podcasts where we sit down, have a little longer form conversations. Kyle, myself, Michael Cirillo. Tomorrow's, and here's the title, is we're with Karen Byrd, GM of Colonial VW Subaru in the Philly area. Go Philly. Tomorrow's standard equipment is what it's called. Tomorrow's standard equipment. Awesome conversation with Karen.
She puts on a masterclass for approaching challenge. That's
a great way to put it.
That's the
could have easily named the podcast that
masterclass for challenge. Yeah.
So you can go to any podcast platform, search Auto Collabs, AUTOCOLLABS, and we hope you check that out. Or we'll be posting a lot of clips on our LinkedIn page. You can follow our LinkedIn page at Sodu. A lot of good conversations going on there.
Yes.
3 days from now, Kyle, where are we going to be?
We're going to be in Winata, which is in Washington, D.C. It's the Washington area dealers. Big show. There's a massive show. Apparently it's one of the biggest shows in the country that is like a lot of people don't know about. But we're going to actually be on the political day there. And so there's
public policy day.
Public policy. Yep. And so there's going to be a lot of political representation, a lot of OEM representation, and we're just going to have some conversations about like the real stuff that's going on right now. Can't wait to be there and share just what's going on with the community.
New crowd for us, right? We got a bunch of legislators, some, members of the Congress.
We're gonna have to act like we have ties on,
I'm just a little bit more like an adult. But it's going to be fun to like show the love people more than you love cars mentality in community to people who may have a perception that isn't the truth. You know what I'm saying?
What
else? Oh yeah, NADA 17 days away.
NADA, a SoduCon
coming in hot, all that good stuff. Let's get some news, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right.
Speaking of auto shows, it's just a layup, and you were gonna roll right past it.
I certainly was.
Alley-oop.
As Stellantis scales back its auto show participation, dealers in North Texas are uniting to showcase vehicles, pulling their resources and making sure Stellantis still has a presence at the North Texas Auto Show. So the absence of Stellantis corporate support means that there will only be showroom models for sale. So obviously not a lot of the vehicles that are in conversation, like the electric Ram 1500 Rev, it won't be there, right?
Yep.
Charlie Gilchrist of Gilchrist Automotive, you know him from his NADA stint, along with the North Texas Auto Dealer Association, is going to band together to make sure that the brand has a presence there. They are focusing on So Stellantis, let's talk about this for a second.
This is the thing.
Stellantis has had an ongoing absence from events like SEMA, the LA Auto Show, CES. They haven't been in any of those. They're also pulling out of Super Bowl ads this year. And we know some of the most iconic Stellantis.
Which is wild because they do a really great job.
Phenomenal job. Phenomenal job. Made in Detroit is like one of my favorite ads ever. And they're saying they're shifting marketing funds to other places. So, they say focusing on efficiency. The strike did come up a little bit in conversations, but Charlie Gilchrist is saying when dealers think that it's important to be at an auto show and to be in front of consumers, I think that should tell the OEMs how we feel about auto shows, because we as dealers believe we need to have them. It's an efficient spend, he says, because we get a lot of consumers looking and shopping and actually going to buy. Studies proven that they actually buy vehicles. So I think it's important that we have OEMs there.
That's interesting because I bet if you surveyed a whole bunch of dealers, there'd be like a varying amount of what they think the auto show actually provides. But I mean, I remember the dealerships that I had in Nashville, we had to supply the Mazda units for the auto show there.
Mm-hmm.
And we also supplied the staff for it.
Yeah,
and
very common.
It was, they didn't like Mazda wasn't participating, but they kind of gave us some tier 2 resources to do that.
Yep.
And we got a lot of traction out of that. Like, we had a great engagement. We sent our top people that knew how to communicate with customers, and we would see the transition from auto show to showroom. And so there's still a place for it if done right. I think it definitely is a market segment. It's not the entire market that's interested in auto. So that's why I think it's weird, that you wouldn't put these newest vehicles, right? Like, people go to the auto show to see,
especially a brand like Stellantis, right? Like, they have some cult vehicles like the Jeep Wrangler, right? You have a lot of these subgroups. The organizers of the Washington area New Car Dealer Association, WNADA, the organizers were telling us that they have growing attendance, and they are just saying, like, we don't understand why OEMs are not putting resources behind this, because people are showing up, they're in buy mode. So this is like on the ground too. And they were saying that's anything you can do to show the OEMs what's actually going on here is beneficial for all of us, which is one of the reasons we're covering the show later this week, is to do just that and bring more attention to these shows. So, so hopefully Stellantis will pay attention to this and get back into the game. But, if there's one thing that we can count on, is that when dealers understand there is a path to a sale somewhere, they are going to band together to make it happen.
What is it they say, Paul? Something about when dealers banding together, no crisis can win. Something about that. I don't know.
I've heard that once or twice. Speaking of things happening.
Stop. Segue.
It's an okay segue. I'll give that a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, that's definitely a mid.
Sales, the kids would say that was mid. Sales growth is mostly electric for BMW, as the combustion engine is hitting a tipping point. Says BMW CFO, as electric vehicles are now driving a majority of the company's sales growth.
Wow.
So more growth in EVs than in combustion. So basically, as environmental regulations and market pressures are pushing car makers like BMW to expand those EV offerings, BMW is aiming to increase its all electric sales to 33%, not by 2030, by 2026.
That's
so
impressive.
All of their sales, it was 15% of total sales in 2023, and they're moving that to 33% in 2026 as they introduce 6 new models of its new class, spelled a really weird way, NEUE KLASSE, EV only line. CFO Walter Myrtle says the current sales plateau for combustion cars will continue and then fall slightly. So he's like, we're going to plateau and then we're going to start to dip. And despite the cost of batteries and new technology, BMW is maintaining a target of 3 million sales by 2030. So they're staying on target with holding an 8 to 10% profit margin. And they did say these new EVs will be profitable.
Yeah. And they probably will be, because BMW got to make some money. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
They've also been doing the EV game for quite some time. They haven't got a
Definitely.
lot of press for it, but they've been doing it for quite some time. So it's not something new to the consumer base. They're already kind of warmed up for this, instead of just like dropping everything all at once. Also, the new class is just the German version of new class, so it's just a translation. But I do think it's kind of funky, and it's it's a cool brand play to take that across borders. So
I like it.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Speaking of renaming things,
Stop.
That's right.
7 out of 10.
So a recent Retail Wire article is asking whether or not associate experience, classified as AX, is the new norm for retail successes, as retailers are recognizing it as being a crucial factor. So retailers are especially like in anything retail. So think about, it doesn't matter if you have a store or a storefront, or even an online store. Retail has seen its fair share of people come and go. Longevity as employees is not, seen a lot in retail. And so they are needing to increasingly focus on the well-being of their workforce, recognizing the direct impact of employee satisfaction. So as opposed to being CX for customer experience, or ESI, the new term is associate experience. The big goal is to move the term from employee to associate, recognizing that this is across all employees. So it's not just manager, it's not just frontline employee, but they are all associates in creating that experience. One of the companies that is seeing the biggest shift is PepsiCo, as they've recognized that the importance of empowering employees allows them to kind of be their best self, is the way that they termed it in the article and the quote there. But it's really just like promoting health, promoting a great experience, promoting a great employee experience, which I think we've been talking about a little bit.
I've been smiling from ear to ear when I read this article first.
Right.
First of all, because there's somebody who may not have invented the phrase "love people more than you love cars," who may or may not already call every team member an associate.
Wow.
The one in Liza Borges. So when we're talking about AX, associate experience, we've seen a concerted push in retail automotive over the last 5 years to not strike like this work-life balance that has been, I'll be careful here, has been, I think, way too far. It's taken it way too far. And it's led to business ineffectiveness, consumer service ineffectiveness. You can't take your associate experience so far that your consumer experience suffered, right? It has to be a symbiotic thing. So I think automotive has, contrary to popular, stigma, automotive has leaned in to associate experience in the last 5 years.
Well, I think because there's a lot of people that have said, okay, associate experience actually emphasizes a work-life balance that doesn't require just giving more of quote unquote life into the balance, right? Yes. Because if you have a great associate experience, there's no detractor for being in your work environment.
Yes. No, that's perfect. I've always, not always, over the last 10 years, I've developed this theory or a principle actually on my teams, and I just boiled it down to one word: thriving. If I can focus on my people thriving, guess what? People can thrive in all of their life, even if they're working 50 hours a week. That's exactly why? Right. Because what you're doing and what they're doing as a profession is contributing to their mentality, to their energy, to the way they feel about themselves.
Joy, brings them fulfillment, brings them purpose to have a work environment that has that is thriving. Which allows them to actually thrive more in the life experience.
Without a doubt,
all work versus life.
People who are thriving don't put in their resignation. They just don't.
And you don't even need to. That's just
ever. I'm thriving. Let's change things.
It's not true.
And look, like you and I know.
Can you put that on a shirt? If you're thriving, you don't resign.
That's a LinkedIn post for later, y'all. But the bottom line is it's very difficult to do. You and I have experienced this, right? So running a startup, it's demanding, right? Your attentions, and you see people in all states. And I know if you're watching, you see people in all states of thriving or not thriving, right? And those indicators, those indicators are like, you're winning here, you're losing here. But the bottom line, man, focusing on thriving, like it's a winner. It's a winner. Well, I guess we'll end there. We hope that you thrive today, that you help the other people around you thrive today. You help your consumers thrive today. Do you love people more than you love cars? We will see you here tomorrow.